found my perfect sound. Can you see the fire in my eyes? Bitch, it's burning out. Lightning in a bottle. I think I just found my perfect sound. Can you see the fire in my eyes? Bitch, it's burning out.
Yo, yo, yo. How you living? How you feeling? How you doing? This is First Choice Fantasy. We're back. My name's Ed. Brandon, how you living? How you feeling? How you doing?
Doing great. We fired Alex.
Yeah, we had to cut him off after last week's episode. It was pretty fucking bad. But speaking of last week's episode, it was free agency part 1. Today, part two, exactly. We posted our video, I think it was like Tuesday. We recorded on Friday, and Kenny Golladay signed probably on Saturday, was it? Or Friday, something like that? So
it was pretty immediately after our video.
Exactly.
After we recorded, that is.
Yeah. So the first free agent we're going to talk about, I guess, would be Kenny Golladay. Before we dive into that, just want to say like, comment, share, and subscribe if you would like to, because we would greatly appreciate it. But
do it anyway.
Outline of the video would be the free agents that did sign. We're going to talk about some wide receivers, then a few running backs, and then at the end of it, we're going to do some buy-sell for a few wide receivers and a few running backs. So without further ado, let's jump into this. Kenny Golladay, the New York Giants. Brandon, what are you thinking?
I don't like it. I wasn't a fan of pretty much all aspects of this year's free agency. This Kenny Golladay signing to the Giants, for me, just wasn't exciting, only because of Daniel Jones and the lack thereof of his ability and what he's been able to do. Hopefully the signing, benefits him, makes him at least appear to be good, but I don't know. Thus far, Daniel Jones just has not been able to do much with what he's had.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like it just because I'm an Eagles fan, obviously. I didn't really like him going to the Giants because he's good. And then Daniel Jones, actually, his advanced like statistics and stuff like that, they look pretty good. Like as far as like top half of the league, I feel like that's good with what he had because wide receivers are pretty poop, But Kenny Golladay going to the Giants is better than going to the Lions. Like coming back to the Lions, I would say. So for fantasy purposes, I guess it's like a little nudge up. But personally, don't like it because I'm an Eagles fan.
Well. You said nudge up. I mean, last year he was playing with Matthew Stafford. If he re-signed, then yeah, it's a nudge down. But last year he was with Stafford. I like him better with Stafford than Daniel Jones.
I mean nudge up as far as like potential.
What it could have been.
Like this year, as a whole, everything else, like every other place he could have gone to other than, I don't know, I can't even name any offense off the top of my head that would make it more beneficial for him. But he's going to get the targets and stuff like that. Daniel Jones is a lot better than Jared Goff, I would say. So, I mean,
I agree.
I'd give him a nudge up based on leaving the Lions in the current situation. But not last year, obviously. That's peak. So, I mean, there's no going back to that. But, yeah. Speaking of peak, somebody that's past their peak, the old man, T.Y. Hilton, re-signing with the Indianapolis Colts, right? So, I guess I'll take this one and say that it's obviously going to help Carson Wentz, the deep threat, depending on how many games he plays, like the 8 games that he plays, 12 games that he plays, whatever he plays. But T.Y. Hilton's still a pretty solid receiver, so, I mean, I guess it should help. Michael Pittman's still there. I think they still need another weapon for the offense to actually be fantasy relevant outside of Jonathan Taylor, obviously. But if they get one more weapon through the draft, I feel like that offense could be something. T.Y. Hilton probably won't be like what he was, obviously. But I guess this is kind of like a spike in his value in a sense because, I mean, he's been working with, Phillip Rivers for the past year, then Jacoby Brissett, and Andrew Luck before he retired at the age of 22. So, I mean, I feel like this is kind of the best situation he could have landed in, kind of, because, I mean, he stayed with his team, stayed consistent with that, got an upgraded quarterback. I mean, not bad.
It's hard for me to judge T.Y. Hilton because, I mean, it feels right to say he's past this peak, and yeah, he definitely is. But to think of him as what we think of him now is kind of hard because we're, like you said, we're thinking of him with Brissett and then with Phillip Rivers, and it's like, is he really as bad as he seems to be? Like, is he that far past his prime? I personally think, I mean, he could be a value in drafts if he's not, because if he is, he's playing with a much better quarterback, in my opinion, in Carson Wentz. And I think he'll be able to, make plays and, utilize T.Y. Hilton far better than what, Phillip Rivers could.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, I mean, better offensive line, so Wentz isn't going to be as jittery as he was with us. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, Hilton
And
could be still.
possibly a better running game because, last
Yeah.
season, Miles Sanders wasn't utilized that greatly, but and with injuries and whatnot. But yeah, I think T.Y. Hilton, I don't hate it. I've never been too excited about T.Y. Hilton, but I don't know. I think there's some upside there.
I feel like T.Y. Hilton right now is kind of like the same T.Y. Hilton has been for the past few years. Same with like A.J. Green for the past few years. Like if he's on the field, I feel comfortable drafting him, but like you can't guarantee me he plays 12 out of 16 games or 14 out of 16. He might play like 8. So I mean, it's definitely risk reward. But I mean, if he goes like 8th round, I might think it's a steal. Like I would probably pull the trigger on that. But yeah. I guess on to something that doesn't really matter, but I guess it matters for the sake of Texans fans. They signed 4 wide receivers. Dante Moncrief, the old Colt stud.
He's still a wide receiver in the NFL?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of another wide receiver that I guess is a kick returner, Andre Roberts, he got paid like $3 million to be a kick returner, while everybody else got like maybe $1 million at most or sub $1 million. But Dante Moncrief, Chris Conley, Andre Roberts, and Alex Erickson. My question to you, Brandon, you think any of these people, outside of probably Andre Roberts, because he'll probably kick return, punt return, stuff like that, think any of these wide receivers stay on their roster? Like, do you think they'll actually, I guess, be on the active roster come week 1, all 4 of them, or any 4 of them?
If there were to be one, and I think there might be one tops, it would be Chris Conley for me. I think he's shown flashes in past years, and let's face it, their wide receiver group isn't the strongest. They've got Kiki Kuti and Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is always and forever seems to be going to be, top 15 wide receiver in the NFL. But you got to add some weapons, and what they added was pretty much bottom of the barrel wide receivers. Players that they could have just waited to pick up for like weeks after the draft and been like, oh, we can pick them up and give it a shot. But there's not much here. I think Chris Conley would be the best bet as a depth piece for the team. I
agree. Just because, if you're looking at their wide receivers, like you said, they have Brandon Cooks, Kiki Kuti. They're both just short motherfuckers. Of those wide receivers that were signed, Conley's the biggest, I guess, the most athletic, I guess, of the 4. Roberts is, like I said, probably going to be kick returner, punt returner, but Chris Conley might be on that offense. Not like it's much of a trophy or an award because he's not going to do anything. Like, the offense is going to be really bad. So that's that. I guess we'll move on and save time. Go with Mr. Josh Reynolds to the Tennessee Titans. So I picked him up in Dynasty a few weeks ago, and then I shipped him away for a second-round pick, which is just, a bargain to me. But
that's crazy. Didn't even see that.
Yeah, I got a second-round pick and the Jets defense, which I had coveted early in the offseason, but now at this point in time, I don't think the defense is worth that much. But anyway, Josh Reynolds to the Titans, who barely passed the ball, but he'll probably be the wide receiver too, because Corey Davis is out of there and Adam Humphries is out of there too. So it's a nice name, I guess you could say, to have wide receiver 2 for Josh Reynolds, but an offense that really doesn't pass that much. I don't think he's worth much of anything at this point. I don't want him in redraft. Dynasty, I guess, is a stash. No, actually, no. Matter of fact, I don't want him at all. Nope. Get him out of here.
I don't know. I think there could be potential there for like flash games here and there, but he's a wide receiver too. Me personally, that's a player that if I could, I would just stash on my bench and Dynasty, that is, as just to be one of those guys. Like, if I had A.J. Brown in a Dynasty league, sure, I'd keep Josh Reynolds around just in case. Like, I don't know. Injuries happen, and I think as a wide receiver, too, it's not. I mean, it's better than a Chris Conley.
Hear me out on this. It's not really a hear me out, but it's a question just to see like where your head's at. Would you take a wide receiver two, say on the Titans or like, a low passing attack offense, right? Or would you take the wide receiver three on the Chiefs slash the Bills slash the pass happiest offense? You know what I mean? I'm going wide receiver three, the pass happiest offense, because if somebody does go down,
Yeah.
or even if they are good enough, the wide receiver
They can
three,
step in
they're gonna step
and
in
be
exactly.
utilized. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, I would pick up, you know, any of those backup DeMarco Robinson with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think I actually did pick him up in Dynasty one time and ended up dropping him because,
Yeah.
pick other players up. But just to have that on your bench just because.
It's like a McCole Hardman versus, at this point, want to say, I don't know. What offense do you think is not going to have many pass attempts this year? I guess Josh Reynolds, but I mean that's not really that's comparing like an apple to like a rotten apple type of thing.
Oh, Mecole Hardman or Willie Snead.
Speaking of Willie Snead, I'm just gonna ignore that question because that either or. I mean, it's kind of gross. But the Raiders, he's on the Raiders now, just like John Brown is, and formerly known running back Drake, straight out of Toronto, Drake. You know what I mean? You know, clue what I'm talking about. Kenyan Drake. They said they want to use him at wide receiver, which I guess makes sense now as to why they signed him, but it doesn't make sense because why would you use him as a wide receiver? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like fantasy wise, if I have Kenyan Drake, that is just the biggest punch in the gut ever. Like if I were a Kenyan Drake dynasty owner, no, just get him off my team at this point. Give me a second round pick, I'm off him. Like I don't want him. John Brown might be interesting. He signed there.
Mhm.
He's been good. Like he's been a solid wide receiver for years. But I mean, the offense as
Injuries
a
have been
whole is
keeping
just
up or catching up with him.
facts.
Been
Yeah,
hurt past few years. Just
and
disappointing because, like you said, he's been really showing out.
yeah.
He's been a great wide receiver.
What are you thinking about any of those three? Willie Snead, John Brown, or Kenyan Drake, a wide receiver?
See, I want to say I'm most excited for John Brown, but it's so strange to me with what the Raiders are doing. I mean, they got Ruggs and now Brown and then Snead and Drake. It's just the strangest.
You left the name out. You left the name out. You left the name out.
Ew.
Brian Edwards, the
Ah.
goat, the goat. Oh man.
Yeah. I like Brian Edwards. I
Wow.
do. I don't know what happened. They were all hyping him up last season. I mean, Derek Carr was just saying how he was the best wide receiver he's thrown to, and then all of a sudden he's not going to be used at all. But I mean,
He compared him to Devontae Adams. You know what I mean? So that's high praise. And Devontae Adams' first year in the league, he played 16 games, but he
that's
had
true.
80
Dak.
fantasy points. So I mean, maybe Brian Edwards just makes a flash year too, and he becomes that Devontae Adams. I like it. I like it. But
I like it too.
yeah. Other than that, the wide
Yeah.
receiver signings are bland. I mean, John Brown, like I said, chance he does something, but if he gets injured, man, and the offense as a whole with Derek Carr at quarterback, it's So I mean,
Darren Waller though. Alex said he was a fad, but no, he
yeah.
is not. He is not a fad. He is.
Emphasize the D, the fad. Yes.
Yeah. Darren Waller is my guy. It's my favorite tight end in the NFL. So
Damn. Well, I guess that does make sense. That makes sense. All right. Well, speaking of different positions, tight ends and whatnot, let's change positions from wide receivers to the running backs, the notable running backs that we missed that signed this past week or so. Starting off, we're going to start off with the running back that we thought was going to change teams. You might think I'm talking about Fournette, but I'm talking about James White. We thought he was going to sign in Tampa Bay. I thought he was signing in Tampa Bay. That made more sense than anything. But comes back to New England, which, I mean, I guess it's cool. I don't think it's I don't think he's as fantasy relevant, I guess you could say, anymore. Just because, I mean, you have Cam Newton there if he's going to be a starting quarterback. If he's not, might be some rookie and maybe he is fantasy relevant at that point, but I would not take my chances on that. If I had him in Dynasty, I'd probably get rid of him. But in redraft, if there is a rookie quarterback that comes in, Mac Jones esque, somebody that's like a pocket passer kind of guy, maybe James White becomes relevant, like a late round steal type of thing. But as of the team right now, Cam Newton, whatnot, meh, I don't. Worst case scenario, I guess, for him rather than going to Tampa Bay.
What about those Patriots running backs? Do you think they're gonna try and draft a running back?
Honestly, I want to say yes. I want to say yes, but then again, like I don't know. Like I don't. I know that they know that Sony Michel is not the answer.
Yeah,
Damian Harris kind of popped off last year, and his like elusive rating, all that stuff, like all of his advanced metrics, he looked like a top running back. But
yeah.
it's the Patriots, so it's curveball after curveball with them. I wouldn't bank on anything happening, but at the moment, it's still a crowded running back room.
It's
So if they do
it's
add
Cam
another running back,
Newton leading the way.
leading the way in the running back room, indeed, yeah. But yeah, I really don't know what they're going to do. Honestly, I have no clue.
Yeah.
You
Then
have
you
anything
got
to say about White?
no. The kind of same you know, place where you just said. The only thing about White that I did disagree with was trading away in Dynasty. I think I would just hold on to him because, like, what value does he really have
I
to
mean, if
trade
you
away
toss
to
them
begin
in
with?
to get, this is my thinking, okay? So what I've come to the conclusion on based on the whole, I'm on Twitter all the time, right? Dynasty Fantasy Football Twitter. I'm on it constantly. Supposedly, the 2023 draft class is stacked, and the 2022 draft class is meh as far as fantasy relevant players and stuff. So if you could possibly trade James White for like a 2023 second, or like package him with other things to get a 2023 first, or just trade him and other picks to get like a second round pick in this year's draft, I feel like that's a fair trade. Obviously, you're not going to get a first round pick straight up for James White, but I mean, I'd rather have a shot at somebody like
Yeah,
that has a ceiling because he doesn't have a ceiling. Well, his ceiling's very low actually. So I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I wouldn't roster him. It's like a bench clogger, I guess you could call him. Because
yeah.
I mean, you're really never going to play him, and if you do, it's like
Desperate times.
desperate, exactly. And at that point, you're hoping he gets 6 points, and it's like, yeah, okay, he got two. This is what I'm holding on to him
Well,
for.
yeah,
Two
I'm
points.
holding on to him for those 2 points.
Yeah. All right. Next running back who we're going to hold on to for through his 3 games played in the season, Matt Breida, going to Buffalo with the Bills. Okay,
Oh my god.
you can take away the initial conversation with this. That's all you.
Uh, I mean, I like Matt Breida going into the Dolphins. However, they didn't uh recognize him as an NFL player, and he kind of just faded away into the darkness.
Thanks.
But the Bills have a need at running back, in my opinion. I don't think Singletary is the answer. Zach Moss, I don't think he is also the answer. So I think having Matt Breida there is halfway decent player to have behind those guys in case of injury. And I mean, maybe I'd stash him on my bench. I don't know. I don't know about Breida. He flashed in, with the 49ers, but I mean that's just the game plan and 49ers. So it's like, was it just the system or was it the player? And so I mean, ever since he left, it seems to be the system. So
Yeah.
you gotta make that choice as to whether or not you have faith in the player.
I'm shocked he didn't go to the Jets, which is where his ex teammate went, Tevin Coleman. Just because that's like an expansion of systems kind of a thing, like scheme wise, because the offensive coordinator that's there now was under Shanahan since his time, and I want to say Cleveland. I think since Cleveland he's been under him, like obviously with his whole running system, how Shanahan does all that stuff.
Yeah,
Brady succeeded in that, so I mean, I would have thought he'd go to New York, but he went to Buffalo, which is kind of confusing because I mean, to me, I don't really know, schemes and shit like that. I'm not a genius, but I would think that they wanted like a power running back, like Chris Carson, right?
yeah,
But Matt Brady is obviously not that, so it's kind of like a head scratcher, I guess you could say. So I mean, at that point, I'd probably hold him in Dynasty because if they change the way they use him or like they use him a different way than they usually use running backs, maybe he becomes successful. I just don't see it, but I would still hold on to it and bank on that, I guess you could say, because it really has no value at this point in Dynasty. But in redrafts, I would probably just keep an eye on him in waiver wires, honestly. I wouldn't draft him initially. I'd probably wait
Yeah.
for him to actually pop off to actually roster him. But yeah, I don't really know about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd agree. Redraft, I just wait and see. I wouldn't draft him or use a pick. I would use my later round picks on other players.
Facts. Like rookie players mainly. I'd like
Yeah.
that. All right. The big boy is back in Tampa Bay. Leonard
They're
Fournette.
all back.
Big boy playoff Lenny is in Tampa Bay. Re-signed with them, what was it, today, which is Friday? Or re-signed yesterday?
I believe it was today.
Yeah,
As I was
Friday.
walking back from the parking garage from school.
The good old parking garage.
So many
Yeah,
good memories.
it's back in Tampa Bay. I thought he would sign elsewhere. I'm sure everybody else probably thought the same thing
I
because,
did
I mean,
too.
he obviously said he wanted to be back, and then he said that there were conversations heating up with other teams and stuff like that. Seattle supposedly offered him something. That would have been something to see. But ends up back in Tampa Bay. Fantasy-wise, I'm not against it, I guess you could say. Seeing what he did in the playoffs, he's still got it to a point. Yeah, what do you got to say about him?
Uh, I don't really got much to say. Uh, yeah.
That's
I
fair.
was
That's fair.
excited. I was excited for Ronald Jones, to be honest, without Fournette. But now he's back, and it's kind of that same feeling.
Yeah, I feel that. But speaking of Ronald Jones, let's dive into this buy sell. We're over with the running backs and the wide receiver free agent signings. We're going to do some buy sells based on these previous signings, though. So, first one, we're going to kick it off with Leonard Fournette outscoring Ronald Jones. Do you buy or sell that, Brandon?
So this is based on pretty much this is based on, do you think Fournette's going to have a lot of touchdowns? Who's going to be utilized in the red zone the most? And I think it's going to be Fournette, obviously. But then again, you got Ronald Jones out touching him by a good bit. But then again, Fournette wasn't picked up by the Buccaneers until later on in the season. So shorter sample size. He needed to learn the system. I'm gonna buy this. I think he's gonna outscore him.
I'm not. This is a hard one for me, right? Because I'm a Ronald Jones guy, and
Yeah,
last year Ronald Jones really snapped. Like he really
he
was
did.
good when he had the crazy volume. He was like top running back of the week type. And the thing that I'm struggling with is the fact that Leonard Fournette, like, why bring him back? You know what I mean? Like, if you actually believed in Ronald Jones, why bring Fournette back? And if you want a receiving back, why bring in a running back who does both receiving and rushing? Why don't you get literally James White who does just receiving? Like, it would be so much more simple, right? But for that reason right there, they didn't bring a receiving back so they could complement Ronald Jones. I'm going to say Leonard Fournette probably does outscore Ronald Jones. Hurts my heart because Ronald Jones was a top 15 back last year, top 20 back, something like that.
He was
And
good.
Leonard Fournette was very inefficient at times, I guess, in the regular season last year. But turn it on in the playoffs, and I guess that's here to stay. I guess you have to, face that. Ronald Jones is going to get outscored by Leonard Fournette. It hurts my heart, honestly, but it is what it is. He's about to be 27, 20, 26, 27 Fournette. Just leave, bro. Like, come on. I don't like it.
Go somewhere else. Yeah, I was hoping he'd end up somewhere else personally.
Same. Seattle, I
Spread
really
the
would
love.
have.
I want these running backs to just spread out so we have more of them.
Exactly.
But can't live in a perfect world.
Exactly. Speaking of a perfect world, nobody saw this coming. Will
Yeah.
Fuller going to the Miami Dolphins. This, we talked about it, obviously, but this just, it was hard to create a buy sell for this, you know what I mean? Like we talked about beforehand. I was going to go with the touchdowns because he had 8 touchdowns last year in 11 games. But the buy sell for Will Fuller is going to be outscoring Devontae Parker. Do you think Will Fuller is going to outscore Devontae Parker? You can answer that first. I'm not too sure still.
Uh I'm gonna say yeah. I think he will. I like Will Fuller and the player. As long as he's healthy, I couldn't see why he wouldn't. He's brought in. I think he's being brought in to be the wide receiver one on this offense, and he proved it last year that he could be the wide receiver one on an offense alongside another equally good wide receiver in Brandon Cooks. So why can't he do the same with a pretty good wide receiver in Parker? So I'm gonna buy this. The only tough thing is I bought in with the Will Fuller. I made a trade involving Will Fuller and another few other players. It also included Will Fuller's old teammate DeAndre Hopkins. But I was really high on Fuller and hoped that he would land somewhere else than Miami. I was hoping like a Green Bay because like for the past like 6 years we've been hoping Green Bay would get another wide receiver, but they're just refusing to do that. So, but I'm not totally out on Fuller. I still have optimism towards him, and I think he's going to I'm going to buy this. He's going to outperform Parker.
Yeah, I think I came to my senses. I'll probably buy it too, just because he's better than Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker last year at Tua didn't do too much. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'll bank on a few big Will Fuller games. He has those, and I mean, if that carries him to 130 fantasy points while Devontae Parker puts up 128, I mean, it is what it is, you know? So I'll take that. Even if Will Fuller plays 8 games, maybe he still outscores Devontae Parker. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I'll buy that anyway. Next up, another superstar wide receiver, another stud wide receiver, Mr. Kenny Golladay.
Ooh.
Do you think this is going to be more of a sarcastic buy sell? I guess you could say, just because I mean, it's just funny to make fun of Jared Goff and I guess the Lions organization now. Do you think Kenny Golladay is going to outscore the Lions wide receiver group in terms of touchdowns? Do you think he's going to have more touchdowns than all of the Lions wide receivers in this entire year?
Well, let's run down their wide receivers. They got Rashad Perriman. What else? Someone else signed there.
Tyrell Williams.
Tyrell Williams. And that means I'm
Amendola?
buying.
I think they have Amendola too. Don't sleep on Bull. Is he still there?
He was, but he's also like he's not Cole Beasley.
He's like 75 years old.
Yeah, he's like Cole Beasley's age, but the only player that can do it is Cole Beasley.
Literally, that's it. I buy it. The only question mark I have with it, if the Lions end up taking like Devontae Smith, I don't know if Devontae Smith's a rookie wide receiver, like top 10 picks. I don't know if he's built like that. But I mean, I don't know. It's just supposed to be funny, but I'm thinking too deeply.
You're thinking about too much.
Way too much. It's Kenny Golladay and the Lions wide receivers. I'll buy that, and on the fact that I think the tight end T.J. Hawkinson is probably going to catch a lot of touchdowns, and DeAndre Swift a lot of touchdowns. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, you want to bring up like a rookie wide receiver. I mean, think about Jerry Jeudy landing on the Broncos with they still going to have Jared Goff. They had Drew Lock. Jerry Jeudy had 3 touchdowns. So, like, come on. The talent can be there, but the quarterback and the team sometimes it just doesn't pan out.
Yeah, I was about to compare Jared Goff to Kirk Cousins, but I probably shouldn't do that because that's not fair for Kirk Cousins. All right. On to the next to last buy sell. We got one more after this one. So this one, Juju Smith-Schuster back with Pittsburgh. Do you think that he out-targets the wide receivers, like both, not combined, but each individually? Do you think he's going to be the highest targeted wide receiver on the team? Last year he had 128 targets, I believe. Deontay Johnson had like 144 in, I think, 15 games total. He got hurt here and there, something like that. And Claypool got like 108 targets or somewhere around there. Do you think Juju is the highest targeted wide receiver, even though he wasn't last year. Do you think he will be this year?
I know we talked about this earlier, and I was leaning on buying this. Uh, although I think Deontay Johnson is a better receiver. He also had his struggles, and I'm not sure if that's going to negatively affect his usage in the offense. Uh, but even not even thinking about that, thinking about Juju and his situation, he's banking on himself, and I think he is going to. He's playing for a contract year, so ah, I think I'm gonna buy this. I think Juju will out target them.
I like it. I like it. I respect it. But I'm going to disagree. I'm going to have to sell this
I
one. This one's
figured.
going to be probably one of my. I don't know. I feel like it just. I like Juju. I really do. I don't like Deontay Johnson that much anymore. He had a very, I guess you could say, bad year as far as hands wise. But I think Claypool is the big one here. Like, I think people are sleeping on him. He was a rookie last year, had 108 targets or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was right behind Juju's tail. I just think he's going to get utilized a little bit more. They love him, obviously. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like Claypool's just sneaking up. You know what I mean? Like Deontay Johnson had his volume last year. Didn't do much with it. He flopped. Really, he flopped. And Juju was dependable as like a 5 yard catch it real quick. Cool. I'll do that. But I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna get all those targets that. I just don't see Deontay Johnson getting 144 targets again. I just do not see that happening. And Claypool, I feel like, is just going to have that year take over Juju Smith-Schuster. I like your idea, though, with Juju being, like, not necessarily revenge, but, like, I need this contract. Like, this is my contract year. I need that money, so, like, let me go out here and perform. I like the idea of it, but I don't know. I guess I'll take Claypool over Juju targets-wise, so I'll sell that one. But, yeah.
I was wondering who of the two other receivers there it would be that you thought would get more targets, but
Yeah.
I like it.
It's probably
Claypool.
bold saying Claypool, Juju, like Claypool over Juju targets-wise, but I'm a bold man. What can I say, you know? Speaking of bold men, never mind. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones went back to Green Bay, re-signed there, obviously, and Jamal Williams dipped, right? Jamal Williams dipped. They have A.J. Dillon, they have Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones these past 2 years. Okay, 2 years ago, he was second running. I think he was running back 2 in standard leagues behind, the historic year CMC had. Running back 3 in PPR leagues. And then this past year, he was running back 5 overall. Do you think Aaron Jones remains a top 5 fantasy running back this year?
This is hard because there's a lot of running backs coming in this year that are young. You got Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if you still got that faith on him. DeAndre Swift looking to take over with the Lions, be the only talented player on the offense. But I believe in Aaron Jones and his talent. I watch him, and he looks incredible in the red zone. He looks insane. Like, I've never watched a running back like where I am just confident if he gets the ball, he'll get yardage in the red zone. And I watch him, and I mean, it's either a touchdown or he's gaining 5 or 6 yards, inching his way closer. I personally think he is a great running back in the red zone, and I think he does. I'm gonna buy this. I'm glad he ended up back in Green Bay. I thought it was going to be interesting with him leaving, but if he ended up where people were mocking him up to end up, I would have been more happy with him staying in Green Bay, which he did, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I can't say I'm not excited for sure, but I mean, I don't know. This is obviously the big year that he had 2 years ago. It was almost not solely, but it was a big part on touchdowns. He had like 16 rushing touchdowns. I don't know how many receiving touchdowns, but he had an absurd amount of touchdowns. This past year, he didn't have so many. But he still was obviously, like I said, top 5 running back. I think I want to sell it. I want to sell it pretty bad just because I know there's a couple running backs that I believe could really spike this year, like Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders. Joe Mixon, I've been holding out faith for like 3 years, to be honest, bro. But I mean, I'm still holding it. Aaron Jones has been up there. There's no Jamal Williams. I know that. But A.J. Dillon, maybe he gets some red zone work. Maybe A.J. Dillon becomes the better Jamal Williams. You know what I mean? I'm selling it, man. I'm selling it. I'm not saying anything bad about Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is good. He's a good running back. Have faith in him. There's so many running backs that are good, man. Like Nick Chubb, CMC, Saquon, Zeke. Like that's 4 just right there. That's 4. And I want to say I can guarantee all 4 of them finish above him. So he would have to finish right behind them. But still a chance, he gets hurt. Joe Mixon just snaps for touchdowns. Miles Sanders goes crazy. Derrick Henry, didn't even name Derrick Henry right there. If everybody stays healthy and whatnot, I would put him outside the 5. I would put him outside the top 5. So, yeah, I'll have to sell this one. It was the last one, and I sold the last 2
It was
ones.
a good one.
It was a really good one, yeah. It was really hard to think about, to be honest, but I'll probably, in 5 minutes, I'm such an indecisive person, I'm going to end up changing this to buy. Yeah.
You'll send me a clip to edit in.
Yeah.
Erase your sell. And be like, no, I buy this.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with the sell. I'm sticking with the sell. And that's it. All right. That's about it for the video. You got anything else to say, Brandon?
No, that's about it. Watch out for our next episode. We're going to post 2 this week. Reactions and implications on the different the trades and draft picks. So
pretty much a 3-way trade in a sense, but it wasn't. It was the Eagles, Eagles, 49ers, and the Dolphins. Like, comment, share, subscribe, like I said earlier, if you didn't already. We appreciate y'all for watching. First Choice Fantasy, deuces.
Later.